next 20 minutes or thereabout, I shall be making a presentation on the activities of the Joint Task Force Northeast, Operation Hardin Case. By way of introduction, the antisocial activities of the Jamaatul Ahlussunnah Lidawati wal Jihad, popularly known as the Boko Haram terrorists in northeast Nigeria, particularly in Borno, Yobe, and part of Adamawa states, came under spotlight in the mid-2000s. The nefarious activities of the sect, with attendant sporadic killing and arson, became escalated after Abubakar Shekau assumed leadership of the sect in 2009. Accordingly, the situation degenerated beyond the capacity of the Nigerian police force, thereby necessitating the deployment of the armed forces of Nigeria to restore peace and order in the region. The efforts of the armed forces of Nigeria over the past 13 years of engaging in counterterrorism and counterinsurgency operations in the region have degraded the insurgents to a large extent and brought about some significant restoration of peace and normalcy within the operating environment. Over the years, the various military operations conducted in the Northeast have transformed from Operation Restore Order, Operation Boyona, Operation Zaman Lafia, Operation Lafia Dole, to the current designation, Joint Task Force Northeast, Operation Hardin K. Permit me to state that the operating environment of Joint Task Force Northeast, Operation Hardin K remains fluid but largely under control, with occasional isolated attacks on troops and violent activities against soft targets by elements of both Jamaatul Ahlussunnah Lidawati wal Jihad, JAS for short, and Islamic State West African Province, ISWAP terrorists. The Nigerian Army, being the lead force in the theater, has continued to collaborate and foster synergy with other components for anticipated operational end state. The continuous support provided by the naval and air components have contributed tremendously to the successes recorded so far in the theater. Additionally, effective engagements with the multinational Joint Task Force have also been maintained, with collaborations with the Borno State government and other relevant stakeholders in the region are being undertaken. Furthermore, the theater has continued to engage with humanitarian agencies, including domestic and international non-governmental organizations, with a view to identifying and addressing humanitarian issues that have further enhanced the living standards and safety of all. This improved synergy and other non-kinetic efforts have been a fundamental factor in the modest achievements recorded across the theater of operations. The purpose of this brief, therefore, is to highlight the activities of Joint Task Force Northeast, Operation Hardin K. This brings me to the aim of this presentation, which is to acquaint members of the defense media operations with the current activities of Joint Task Force Northeast, Operation Hardin K, with a view to highlighting the achievements. To achieve this aim, this brief shall cover the overview of Operation Hardin K theater of operations, highlight on non-kinetic activities of Operation Hardin K, and the rescue efforts by troops of Joint Task Force Northeast, Operation Hardin K. Thereafter, the brief shall present a highlight on surrendered Boko Haram terrorists, resettlement of internally displaced persons, relationships with non-governmental organizations, and the activities of the Joint Investigation Center, before highlighting the achievements of Operation Hardin K. Let's now take a look at the overview of Joint Task Force Northeast, Operation Hardin K. Operation Hardin K theater covers Borno, Yobe, and parts of Adamawa State. The theater of operations shares boundary to the north with Niger Republic, to the east with the republics of Chad and Cameroon, and to the south and west with 3 div and 1 div areas of responsibility respectively. The theater has a landmass of approximately 105,595 square kilometers, an area bigger than the combination of the Republic of Togo, Benin, Sierra Leone, and Equatorial Guinea. In Europe, the theater is bigger than the combination of Belgium, Turkey, Switzerland, and Cyprus. Furthermore, the theater covers 47 local government areas of Borno, Yobe, and Adamawa states, where its formation and units are tactically deployed. Additionally, other elements such as the Nigerian Police Force, Department of State Services, Nigerian Immigration Services, Nigerian Customs Services, Nigerian Correctional Services, National Drug Law Enforcement Agency, and the Nigerian Security and Civil Defense Corps are also part of the structure of Operation Hadin-K. There are some local security outfits that are contributing to the security architecture across the Northeast. And major amongst them are the Civilian Joint Task Force, the Vigilantes, the Hunters, who equally assist in providing intelligence and security at the various IDP camps and in local areas. Now to highlights of the non-kinetic activities in Operation Hadin-K. In line with the theater's operational strategy, several non-kinetic activities are being conducted in addition to the ongoing operations. These include respecting the basic rights of surrendered terrorists and their families, as well as receiving and providing them to create enabling environments and conditions for the Borno State government to support them with feeding, accommodation, clothing, and basic medical care. The theater also facilitates enabling environment for the rehabilitation and integrating repentant terrorists back into their communities by the state government. Our activities also include liaising with various Islamic sects, traditional leaders, and leaders of all organizations within areas affected by the crisis. Others are organizing Quranic recitation competition, quiz, and sports competition. Let me pause here to say that the essence of organizing the Quranic competition is to give the terrorists or the surrendering ones amongst them the opportunity to complete the 5 pillars of Islam, because whoever comes first in the competition is usually given a ticket to proceed for either Umrah or Hajj, an opportunity that was not available to them while in the bush. In the ongoing clearance operations, we established areas for the convergence of women, children, and the aged ones who were caught up in the operation areas. This is to give them initial palliatives before their evacuation to safe areas. This has warmed our way into the hearts and minds of the terrorists and their families, as reflected in the reaction to our gesture. Other engagements carried out by Operation Hadin-K in our non-kinetic efforts in winning the heart and mind of the populace include the distribution of leaflets and literature to encourage insurgents to surrender and dissuade locals from imbibing terrorist ideology. There are also print and electronic media broadcasts in several different languages, community intervention programs, and key leaders' engagements. Primary among these is the continuous sensitization of citizens and locals on the dangers of improvised explosive devices and unexploded ordnances, particularly on the civil populace, necessitating the need for more roads to be reconstructed across the theater to reduce the possibility of improvised explosive devices emplacement by the terrorists. The theater also uses persuasive flyers and radio jingles in English, Hausa, Fulfulde, and Kanuri languages through Operation Hadin-K Radio, Radio Dandankura, and other electronic and print media. Series of meetings with religious communities and traditional and youth leaders, as well as civil society organizations, are also being undertaken. Most importantly, the theater has continued to provide worthwhile quick impact projects to communities affected by insurgency through the Chief of Army Staff's CIMIC intervention projects. Notably, the theater has undertaken the renovation of a one-story classroom in Zajiri Secondary School at Baga Road, Maiduguri. It also provided a solar-powered borehole at Jidari Polo in Maiduguri. The theater has also renovated a blocks of classroom at Lawal Mustafa School at Konduga, the construction of solar-powered borehole in Jakana, and the distribution of notebooks to public schools across the theater. It is interesting to note that Operation Hardin Care has provided a safe and secure environment for the return of National Youth Service Corps Orientation Scheme to Maiduguri after over 12 years of suspension due to insurgent activities in Borno State. On the screen is a short clip of activities in the NYSC orientation camp. The West African Examination Council, which for some time could not hold in areas such as Banki and Goza general areas, are due to commence as a result of the return of relative peace in the areas. Furthermore, the theater has continued to engage with humanitarian agencies, domestic and international non-governmental organizations, with a view to identifying and addressing humanitarian issues that will further enhance the living standard and safety of the populace. These engagements were also aimed at ensuring the timely return of normalcy to the Northeast region in accordance with the mandate of Operation Hardin Care. Now a look at the rescue efforts of troops across the theater. There have been series of abductions and rescue operations over the past 14 years across the Northeast, but the most prominent and internationally acclaimed was the abduction of 276 Chibok girls in year 2014, as shown on the screen. As of date, a total of 184 of these girls have either escaped, been released, or rescued by own troops. There are 57 girls who escaped in 2014, while 107 girls were released in 2018, with 19 rescued between 2021 and April this year. Now to highlight of surrendered Boko Haram terrorists. Since July 2021, the theater has been witnessing massive surrender of terrorists and their families to our troops. Currently, a total of 109,423 Boko Haram fighters and their families have surrendered. Out of the surrendered persons, 19,241 were active male fighters, 33,686 are women, while 56,496 are children. Information obtained from the detailed debriefings of the surrendered terrorists are being continually factored into the operations of the theater. Such debriefings are routinely undertaken as more fighters continue to surrender in their numbers. The conduct of a comprehensive disarmament, de-radicalization, rehabilitation, and reintegration program by the Borno State government in conjunction with international organizations and Operation Safe Corridor has continued and will be a catalyst to the ongoing peace process. Some words on the resettlement of internally displaced persons. It's a fact that insurgency in the Northeast has caused the displacement of millions of people from their ancestral homes and sources of livelihood. The United Nations High Commissioner for Refugees estimated that as at June 2022, over 3.1 million persons were displaced in the Northeast region of Nigeria. The situation is, however, changing for the better following the creation of an enabling environment for the return of displaced persons to their ancestral homes and sources of livelihood. Currently, some roads that were earlier closed have been reopened, and socio-economic activities have picked up in all the local government areas. On the screen is one of the major cities where economic activities are going without fear or apprehension. Several internally displaced persons were successfully resettled back to their ancestral homes in Goza, Pulka, Isge, Bama, Banki, Ajiri, Kawuri, Ngoshe, Kirawa, Cross Kawa, and Baga, among others. The theater is also working in liaison with the federal government through the Borno State government to resettle about 120,000 displaced persons living in Cameroon back to the general area of Goza. Additionally, the theater commander directed the general officer commanding 7th Division and Commander Sector 1 to carry out a demining exercise at Kumshe general area to ensure the area is cleared of explosive hazards in order to create a safe and secure environment for the proposed reconstruction work by the Borno State government. This will also help to develop a timeline for the return of normalcy and socio-economic activities in the area. This was successfully carried out by the 47th Engineer Brigade. Let us now consider the theater's relationship with non-governmental organizations. The contemporary security situation within the joint operational environment vis-à-vis the activities of humanitarian workers underscores the need for the emplacement of safety measures to protect humanitarian organizations. There are about 245 international and domestic non-governmental organizations in the Northeast Theater. Consequently, the theater has sustained the provision of armed escorts to humanitarian staff, non-governmental organizations, as well as other stakeholders to facilitate their laudable activities across the Northeast region. These initiatives have further fostered healthy working relationship with humanitarian organizations across the theater. Just a few days ago, the theater assisted the Khartoum Foundation to secure the release of 3 persons abducted by the terrorists in Cameroon that were taken to the Timbuktu Triangle. The victims have been reunited with their employers. Now, to the activities of Joint Investigation Center. The Joint Investigation Center is located at Giwa Barracks for temporary holding and investigation of suspected terrorists. The handling of the detainees in the center has been highly professional in tandem with international humanitarian laws. This has continued to earn the theater several commendations from the International Committee of the Red Cross and other non-governmental organizations with the mandate of monitoring such facilities. Notably, we were highly commended by the United Nations Secretary General during his visit to Borno State, and recently, we were commended by the Alamein Foundation for Peace and Development for the exceptional way of promoting the development of women and children at the center. Similarly, on 26 March this year, a total of 230 cleared Boko Haram terrorist suspects, comprising 219 males and 11 females, were handed over to the Borno State government through the State Ministry of Women Affairs and Social Development. The center has introduced basic education and skill acquisition programs for detainees under investigation in a bid to keep them engaged. Physical training exercises and the ability to reestablish and restore family links with their loved ones is also being conducted in the center in conjunction with the International Committee of the Red Cross. These developments have yielded very positive results among the suspects and equally attracted commendations from other partnering organizations. Let us now take a look at some of the achievements of Operation Hadinke. The Joint Task Force Northeast, Operation Hadinke, has made modest achievements in the past years and most significant and recent ones are as follows. The restoration of relative peace and security, including socio-economic activities across the theater, in line with the mandate of the Joint Task Force Operation Adenkai. Next is the provision of safe and secure environment, leading to the resumption of the National Youth Service Corps Orientation Scheme, which was hitherto suspended for over 12 years due to the activities of insurgents in Borno State. We have also achieved in the area of renovation of classrooms, construction of solar-powered industrial boreholes, distribution of notebooks in primary and secondary schools across the theater, and the resumption of West Africa Examination Council activities in Banki and Goza areas where the exams could not hold for some time due to insecurity. Other achievements are the successful demining of Kumshe area of explosive hazards. There is also the series of commendation of the theater for the humane management of detainees in the Joint Investigation Center and the reopening of some hitherto closed roads and communities. In conclusion, the activities of the terrorists across the Northeast region over the past 14 years brought about the involvement of the armed forces of Nigeria with series of transformations that established the current Joint Task Force Northeast Operation Adenkai. The efforts of the troops over the years have created a more stable and thriving environment across the states within the joint operations area. Such efforts have resulted in the numerous non-kinetic operations across the theater to win the heart and mind of the populace, including the massive surrendering of insurgents and their family members. The efforts have equally led to the rescue of 19 Chibok girls over the past 3 years. The Joint Task Force Northeast Operation Adenkai, under the able leadership of Major